Hey guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and today I'm going to do my exciting September releases. It is starting to get ever so slightly colder here in the UK, which means that fall is on the way. So September happens to be one of my favorite reading months, not only because it's the best time to begin curling up under a duvet with the weather turning chillier outside, but also so many new books come out in September. Like, seriously, so many. And part of the reason for that is because it's sort of the start of the Christmas season for publishing, so a lot of these books are like getting out for the holiday season, but it's great for us because it means that we have so many amazing things coming out. So because September is such an amazing release month, it means that this particular video could have gone on for hours. So what I did was I pared down this list a little bit and I picked out some of the books that either I am super excited about or I'm very interested to see if you guys are excited about for the month of September. So I own copies of some of these books, I don't own copies of others. I will put up the light cover on the screen somewhere if I don't have it. And also just as a heads up, even though I don't necessarily sound like it, I do live in the UK, so these will be the UK release dates for these books, and they'll differ from country to country, so if in doubt, check your own local listings to see when these books will publish. So getting started with the 5th of September, there are a couple of books that I think are noteworthy that are coming out. The first one being The Nightjar by Deborah Hewitt. I believe that this is a debut novel, which makes me even more excited, and it sounds amazing. It sounds like exactly my cup of tea. This book follows a young woman named Alice, and Alice has been kind of plagued by these visions of these birds for her entire life. And one day a mysterious stranger named Crowley shows up on her doorstep and she learns from him that these birds are actually nightjars, which are sort of creatures that protect human souls. So of course her ability is quite rare, and there is a shadowy organization that is interested in using her ability for their own nefarious ends, so she and Crowley have to go on the run through an alternate version of London. And this sounds amazing. Apparently it's really good for fans of Neil Gaiman, of which I am very, very much. I love Neverwhere. I love the kind of alternate versions of our own reality, the fantasy versions of our own reality, so this sounds absolutely amazing. This one comes out from Pan Macmillan, again on the 5th of September. Next up, we have another book that publishes on the 5th of September, and this is one I am super pumped to read. It looks like such good, glorious, trashy fun. I don't often read contemporary books, but this one sounds fantastic. It sounds like so much fun. This is American Royals by Katharine McGee. This comes out from Penguin Books. This book follows a fairly simple premise. It's basically what would have happened if George Washington had not become president of the US, but the King of America instead, and this follows his descendants in our modern time as the American royal family. So it follows a couple of different characters. We have Beatrice, who's the heir to the throne and kind of the very picture-perfect princess. We have the twins Samantha and Jefferson, and Samantha's kind of always lived in Beatrice's shadow, and she's very much the wild child, and Jefferson is the extremely handsome kind of Prince Harry type. And then we also have a character named Daphne, who is very much a social climber, who is Jefferson's ex-girlfriend, who wants to get him back because she has her eyes on the crown. And we also have a character named Nina, who's very much a common person like us, but she is entangled with the royal family. This sounds like the perfect book to curl up with on a rainy Saturday and just blast through in a single day. It sounds like so much fun, and I cannot wait to read this. It's a little bit different from a lot of the books that I tend to read and show off on this channel, but it sounds like ridiculously good fun. Next, also publishing on the 5th of September, is a highly anticipated fantasy release. It is the last book in a trilogy, and I desperately need it in my hands right now. This is Dark Dawn by J. Kristoff. This comes out from Harper Voyager here in the UK. I feel like Nevernight needs no introduction on BookTube because it is a hugely popular series, and it's one of those that people either love, like me, or absolutely hate. It really depends on your taste in books, and I am so excited, like many other people, because both Nevernight and God's Grave, the first two books in this trilogy, end on massive cliffhangers, especially God's Grave, and I I need to know. I'm not someone who falls for cliffhangers at all. I'm really not. I usually can move on quite quickly, but the end of God's Grave has me tied up in like circles. I don't even know what my life is. I need to find out what happens. I am desperate to find out how it all ends, and I am obviously really thrilled to have this book coming out so soon. It's crazy that it comes out so soon and that this trilogy is going to be over. Next is a book that's kind of the opposite of Dark Dawn for me. I am not sure how I feel about this. This is a sequel to one of my favorite books, and I think a beloved book by so many people, and I'm really not sure how I feel about it. So the reason I'm including it on this list is not only is it a huge new release, it is also, I think, a book that other people are really looking forward to. This is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. This comes out on the 10th of September, and I don't know how to feel about it because it is a sequel to The Handmaid's Tale, which was written, what, 30 years ago? And I don't know how I feel about a standalone book that suddenly gets a sequel many years later. To me, this feels very much like a Go Set a Watchman situation. It's obviously not even remotely the same thing, because I think that Go Set a Watchman was stolen from Harper Lee and published without her consent. That's another video for another time where I could rage about that, but I do think that this is a book that doesn't necessarily need to happen, and I think that a lot of the things I love about The Handmaid's Tale will not necessarily work in a sequel. Especially the ending! How do you make a sequel for the ending of The Handmaid's Tale? I'm completely baffled. I have no idea how this is gonna work out. I have no idea what's gonna happen. I don't know anything about this book. I'm probably gonna get it from the library. I don't think I'm gonna buy it because I'm very curious, but I don't know if I want to commit quite yet. So please let me know if you're excited about this book or if you feel similarly to me. I'm very interested in what you guys think. Testaments comes out from Vintage Books in the UK on the 10th of September, and I have a feeling it's going to make quite a splash. Also publishing on the 10th of September is a book that I have actually just finished, and I adored. I loved it. It's going to be one of my favorite books of 2019, and I cannot wait for you guys to get your hands on it. This is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. This book is amazing. I feel like it's so refreshing in terms of a lot of the stuff that I've been reading lately, in terms of the way that it sort of blends genres, in the way that it is written. It's just such a good book. I loved it so much, and I think you guys will really love it too. This book follows a girl named January, and she's kind of telling you the story of her life starting from when she's 7 years old and she discovers a doorway to another world. Yes, indeed, this is portal fantasy, but it is also historical fiction, and it also has another story that runs parallel that is very much pure fantasy. She finds a book called The 10,000 Doors, written by someone from another world, and she learns this person's story as well, and it's just like, it's so good and it's so lovely, and I cannot wait for you guys to read it because I think that so many of you will love it as well. It's one of those books that's going to like transcend its genre because it blends so many different genres together. It's beautifully written. It is just an astonishing book. I'm so excited for this. This comes out from Orbit Books on the 10th of September. The next book that I have is one that I'm super excited for, although I don't think I can read it quite yet because I have a little bit to catch up on with this world. But one of my favorite worlds is coming back from one of my favorite authors on the 17th of September. We have A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie coming out. This comes out from Glance here in the UK. I'm so pumped. I love the First Law books. I absolutely love the way that he takes your expectations in fantasy and completely subverts them. I love the characters, I love the tropes, I love the way these books are written. They're so funny, but they're also horrific and super grim, and I think that he's just got such an amazing talent for writing grimdark, hence being Lord Grimdark as he is, and I think this book is going to be amazing. I have flipped through it a little bit, and I'm a little bit lost because I have only read the First Law trilogy in 2013 maybe? maybe 2014. And then I read Best Served Cold, which is the first of 3 standalone books set in this world. And I haven't read the other 2 standalones, and I feel like I'm missing a couple of things here because A Little Hatred does follow not only a couple of familiar characters, perhaps, but a lot of the children and descendants of some of the characters we see in the other books. So I might need to do a big reread. I never reread anything, but I think it would be worth it for A Little Hatred. If you love his books like I do, you're probably very excited about this. If you haven't, and this sounds interesting, I don't think I would necessarily recommend starting with this. I would say go back to The Blade itself and read the First Law trilogy, because you'll probably get a better understanding of what's going on here. I think I need to reread it. Publishing on the 19th of September from Harper Voyager, again a very, very popular publisher on this list apparently, is Kingdom of Souls by Raina Barron. This sounds like an amazing book. I believe it's YA. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's YA, and it is a debut, and it is a West African inspired fantasy, which is super, super exciting. This book follows a character named Ara, and she's a very kind of average, ordinary girl in her world. However, she is the next in line of a very powerful family of witch doctors, and in this particular world, if magic hasn't come to you by your 16th birthday, you will not have magic at all. And of course, her 16th birthday has passed. However, there is a particular ritual that she can perform in order to potentially give herself magic, but she's not been desperate enough to do it until children start go missing in her world. Sounds great. This sounds really, really good, and I've heard some early reviews of it from people who I very much trust, and they are adoring this book, so I cannot wait to get my hands on this. It is a beautiful book both in the UK edition and in the US edition. I am super excited for this. It is one of my most highly anticipated books for the remainder of the year. Also publishing on the 19th of September is The Deathless Girls by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. This proof cover tells you nothing about it, so I will put the actual cover on the screen here because it is stunningly beautiful. Don't know a huge amount about this one, I won't lie, but I absolutely love Kieran's middle grade books. I've read 2 of her 3, which is The Girl with Ink and Stars and The Way Past Winter, which are amazing. I also have The Island at the End of Everything, which I haven't read yet but would really like to. This is her very first YA book, and I'm very excited because not only, as I said, do I really love her writing, I really love her books, but it is also a super spooky gothic book. It features a lesbian romance, and it's about the brides of Dracula, and it sounds so incredibly good. There's a quote on the back of this proof just here, which I think is amazing. It says, "I used to think to make people feel afraid was a curse, an awful thing, but I'd love for them to fear me. I want them to look at me and weep." I think this is going to be a great YA angry girl book. It sounds amazing. I think it deals with some trauma, which I wouldn't be surprised given the kind of gothic-y nature of it and sort of what it's about and everything. But this sounds like an amazing, amazing read. And I believe she's also writing an adult book at the moment, and so I'm really, really pumped. I can't wait to see what her books that are not necessarily middle grade are like, because I think she's an amazing writer. Deathless Girls is the second book, I believe, from Bellatrix, which is a new imprint from Orion, so this is one to keep your eye out for on the 19th of September. And the last book on my list of September releases is one I am so pumped for. This is going to be so good. This is The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. This comes out on the 26th of September from Orbit Books. I recently read and loved Age of Assassins, which was his debut novel, and I am planning on finishing up that trilogy because it's super fun. This sounds like it's going to be something very different though, where Age of Assassins is a very kind of like classic feeling fantasy series. The Bone Ship sounds like it's going to be a much more kind of lyrical type story. Don't know a huge amount about it, but I do know that the kind of world building sounds amazing because it all takes place on these bone ships. They're built from the bones of these enormous sea dragons, and they're like the sizes of cities, and it sounds so incredibly cool. I love that concept. I know that it also features a really, really strong, very unlikable female lead and a very, very weak, unlikable male lead, and I am really, really pumped for this book. I think it's going to be amazing. I absolutely adore RJ. He is a awesome person. I have met him a couple of times, and have heard the way that he's spoken about this book and how excited he is about this book, and therefore I am even more excited about it. So I think this is going to be a really fantastic read. That is it for my super highly anticipated releases for September. Because this is by no means an extensive list, I'm really bad at keeping track of new releases anyway, but I did have to trim it down a little. I would love to know what you are excited about in the month of September, because it is such a huge publishing month. If I missed any books, let me know, or if you're also excited for some of these, I would love to hear from you. I post bookish content to this channel fairly frequently, so go ahead and hit subscribe, check back soon, and I will see you next time.